Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It is cold outside, but what a difference this December is compared to last December. I don't have maps pulled up, but you remember last December, just a blowtorch. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Tomorrow, with this Arctic blast moving in, may not make it out of the teens. We'll talk about that here in just a second. All eyes right now, though, on the weekend system along with this Arctic blast that's moving in. So let's get that in here and kind of deal with it. First off, let's look here at the temperatures. Downright cold temperatures tonight as we go into the overnight hours and as you wake up tomorrow morning where the snowpack is. Very evident up there, the GFS showing temperatures here, single digits, even below zero. Northern Indiana, looks like we're going to go down to the mid to upper teens over much of the area tonight. And then tomorrow, not really going to be that much improvement as you go throughout the afternoon. You know, you might warm up to maybe 20, 21 degrees. Many locations not even making it out of the teens tomorrow, the way things look out of this. And then, of course, we don't go down too much further that night. By the time you wake up on Friday morning, they stayed almost nearly steady temperatures in the mid-teens to near 20, and then we do improve over the weekend as Friday night temperatures roll in. The GFS brings us up above freezing for the first time in a while here by late Friday afternoon here before the rain moves in. Would give us no major concerns on Friday night. The NAM is disagreeing though a little bit. I'll talk about that in a minute. And just watch this, temperatures here as you move in on Saturday. Well, my goodness, you know, you're talking temperatures into the lower 60s possible Saturday. But look at this Arctic front. Man, you can just see it right there moving in. It's 6 up here in Iowa, right up in here. And then, no, I don't want to update Office right now. Boy, why does that always do that? Let me get back here. Let's look at this and just note. If it can stop, there we go. Let me turn this on. And notice temperatures right up here with this. Quite a thermal gradient, all right? We're talking temperatures 0, 1, 2, 4 degrees. Down here in Louisville, down 40 in Evansville, 48, and then still in the 60s down around Bowling Green. That's one heck of a powerful Arctic cold front that's going to plow through, and all of this cold is just going to spill down in, and we're in for a fresh shot of very cold air is what I'm trying to get at as you look at this, and you come in on Sunday, some very cold air takes shape, and then as you go into Monday morning, we're talking temperatures Monday morning likely in the single digits around the area, and maybe even a little bit of snow on the ground to talk about. So let's get right into that. Let's talk about that weekend system. It's going to be mostly a rain system on Saturday. Not really any problems there. Here's the rain coming in, and here's what you see. High pressure here moving off to our east. This is on Friday, and then some snow starts to fill in across the northern states, northern portions of the state here on late Friday night. This would be Friday night, 7 p.m. There's the main low out to our west still moving in. Some rain maybe breaks out during the overnight hours. The NAM I'm going to show you is a little bit different from the GFS here. Then there's some, then of course the GFS takes us all rain here until late in the evening on Saturday. Here's Saturday evening at 7 p.m. The rain is starting to come to an end around the area, and as it does, it actually transitions over to a wintry mix of maybe some sleet, possibly some freezing rain, or some wet snowflakes mixed in there to an all snow setup beyond that. As you go into Sunday morning, you've got a little light band of snow around here as well. So very dynamic system here, if you believe the GFS. Really all of them are showing this. Let me show you here the Canadian model showing kind of a similar setup here. A little bit different though. There's that first nose of snow moving to our north on Friday afternoon in the evening hours. But watch this. The Canadian wants to break out a little bit of a batch of freezing rain potentially across the area with this, and before you get to the rain. So it'd be all rain here over most of the counties along the river, but we would have some freezing rain concerns, at least initially, for there on Friday night. We warm up though, so there's of course not going to last very long. And then the big problem could be with this, as temperatures crash hard on Saturday evening into Sunday under the overnight hours. Here's what happens is you got that rain moving out, and you've got freezing rain breaking out here on the Canadian idea before maybe some light snow showers to end it. So by the time you wake up on Sunday morning, there could be some travel problems there with the Canadian. Let's look at the NAM. Now the NAM does not see out the entirety of the event, but let's watch this. By the way, this was some flurries that may move through tonight. Nothing big, nothing really to see there. Here we come. This is future radar for the NAM model during the afternoon hours on Friday here. You see during the early morning hours, rather, this would be 7 a.m. Maybe you got some light flurry activity around the area. Here's what you're going to watch. That system moving in out from the west. Some showers start to break out during the afternoon, and then you got a decent little snow event starting to go on up here to our north. But then as the day goes on, watch what happens. As we start to get a little cooler at night, we get some sleet here in purple and some freezing rain here in pink starting to mix in with this. And the NAM actually sees that this could be a pretty decent sized little freezing rain event for some of our counties here in southern Indiana before it turns back to warms up enough overnight and turns to all rain. And of course, the reason why it would see that is because the temperatures are a little bit different here on the NAM's idea. So we don't warm up much on Friday. We warm up to about maybe 30, 31 degrees over the area here on Friday during the afternoon hours. And then we are still below freezing as that rain starts to move in. So that would allow for a freezing rain event. But as we go into the early overnight hours, watch this, the warm air does start to seep in. So it's just a little later with a warm air than what the GFS model is essentially. So that will determine whether we see anything. I will say this, if we do see any freezing rain on Friday night, it's going to be very limited most likely around here in southern Indiana, and it's probably going to be very brief. So you might see 2 or 3 hours worth of some freezing rain or freezing drizzle. Even if that does ice over some things, it just means that maybe you need to stay in place on Friday night if that ends up happening, because we're going to warm into the mid-30s and then over into the 40s as you get late into the overnight hours. So any freezing rain that would accumulate, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to be warmed up and washed away during those overnight hours. And the NAM has seen that as well as the GFS. It's just a little bit of a difference on when that warm air comes in. The NAM's a little slower with it. And then as you get into the day on Saturday, you also notice that the NAM is not as warm. During the afternoon on Saturday, it warms us up to near 50 degrees here, but it's, into the 60s on the GFS. So there's some differences right now in between these two that have to be worked out. 10 degrees is a pretty big difference. Either way, it's going to be rain on Saturday for us. And of course, the NAM does not see quite out into the future enough. It stops at 84 hours out. There's that Arctic cold front on Saturday evening plowing through, so we don't see the backside of the system. We will in tomorrow's runs with that, but we don't tonight. So the bottom line is it looks like we've got maybe some freezing rain or freezing drizzle to deal with Friday night, but that's kind of a toss-up in the air right now. If we get it, probably not going to be a huge deal for us, as it sort of looks like it's going to be limited with that warm air rising in. Saturday is going to be an all-rain event. By the time you wake up on Saturday morning, should be no problems. You'll wake up probably into the 40s, and it'll rise into the 50s to even maybe the lower 60s in some locations around the area. On Saturday, it's going to be a pretty nice day around the area. In fact, the further south you go, the warmer air you're gonna see here. Then on Saturday night, as the Arctic front approaches, that's whenever big trouble is going to come again, and that's whenever we might see it transition over to some wintry mix of sleet and freezing rain, and maybe some snow with that as well. Again, the difference, consider that, folks, that snow forms at about 4 to 7,000 feet up in the atmosphere, and so a difference of 1 or 2 degrees in temperature where the snow forms could mean the difference between it falling as liquid or falling as frozen precip. All right, what is freezing rain? It is rain that falls down. It's warm enough to be rain, where it forms up in the atmosphere and it falls down to the ground, but it's freezing at the surface, so it freezes on contact. That's what freezing rain is. Sleet is the ice pellets that fall from the sky. So there's a difference with those. Sleet would be the preferred one if we had to get it, but neither one of them are really good. But if it's a difference between freezing rain and snow, could be literally the difference between 1 or 2 degrees up into the atmosphere. So it's a very close call. And it's Wednesday night as I'm recording this. This event's going to happen Friday night and Saturday night, so we still got a few days to fine tune these things yet. But as for accumulations, I do think there is a chance for some snow showers to accumulate. I don't look for this to be a big thing on Saturday night. The way things look right now, if you look at the GFS model, up to our north, it's a pretty darn big event. Some very heavy lake effect snows up here again, and even a foot or better of snow. This is about 6 to 8 inches for the Chicago area, and about 12 inches up here around South Bend, and even beyond that. So the lake effect snow machine's going to hold up. But by the time you get down south of Indianapolis, well, here's I-70 right in through here, and you notice not much south of I-70 again. And the GFS GIS would give us a light coating to maybe a ½ inch of snow with backside of this system. The Canadian model is a little bit more with this, maybe up to an inch around the area if we are lucky in some spots, but it doesn't look like a huge event. Really, it looks like that we're going to have, if we get any of those freezing rain happen on Friday night again, it's going to be very limited and just really not much going on there, almost kind of negligible. It's as you get into Saturday night after the rain and the crashing temperatures come through, that's whenever you're going to see this change over to possibly some light wintry precip mixed before it goes to some snow. And so if we do that, we could get a little bit of accumulations, but don't expect major, winter storm warning criteria here. We're not talking 4 inches plus of snow. We're talking maybe 2 inches if Arctic air rushes in fast enough, but likely less than an inch is what I would say around this area. By the way, our friends down to the south could end up with some pretty hefty dose of some rough stuff with this, especially if you believe the Canadian. If you look at this system as it rolls through, if you got travel plans down to the south, well, the rain comes in, but then watch this. As the Arctic air crashes in, it goes down here to a pretty decent freezing rain event, and then look at this. It covers all the state of Kentucky, even as far down as here into Nashville. And of course, again, with the freezing rain scenario, the GFS showing us pretty heavy freezing rain event potentially for parts of Kentucky, and a pretty heavy freezing rain event here on the Canadian as well, especially for the Nashville area. As far as whether that's reality, remember this is several days out now, but if you do have travel plans, I would definitely make sure you keep a close eye on this. It even gives some decent little freezing rain accumulations for us as this system crashes on Saturday night into Sunday as well. So something we'll monitor. Could be some freezing rain, could be some snow. Right now, these are all ideas from the model that I show you, but the reality is I can't fine-tune these into a forecast just yet. We're just going to have to wait for a few days. I do think that this is reasonable, though. I do think there is a potential that we could see that kind of a freezing rain event around here out of this. It's not unheard of. Our most common wintry mess around here comes from these rain to snow setups. That's most common type of storms that we get around here. So we don't get these ones that are just pure snow most of the time. There's usually some mixed bag of garbage in here with this. And so it's a very reasonable and very common setup, but we're just going to need a few more days to fine tune it. Either way, the cold is going to be a big story. You can go to southernindianaweather.com, click on 10-day forecast. Going down to about 12 for your low tonight. It's going to be bitterly cold, only up to 18 tomorrow is what I'm forecasting for the high here at the Southern Indiana Weather Office. Some of you might make it up to 20 or 21 if you're lucky. Most of us probably stuck into the teens. Hang out in the mid-teens for our temperatures, and then we rise nicely on Friday to about 35 for your high. We dip down a little bit on Friday evening as the sun sets, but then during the overnight hours, rise back up at least into the mid-50s, I'm thinking, on Saturday with that rain before temperatures crash. And then the way I have worded it here is mostly cloudy, rain likely Saturday, but that should possibly change to some snow showers late overnight. I probably ought to add something in there as well, but possibly changing to a wintry mixed bag there as well, because I do think that is legitimate. And then it's just downright cold for Sunday as you look at Sunday. Maybe a few snow showers early, turns partly sunny, but only 18 for a high, and brutally cold into the single digits that night. We don't improve that much next week, early on anyway, 26th and 34, but back to the 40s as we go into the midweek with a rain system coming in later on. So there will be some improvement. There is an end in sight to this ridiculously cold weather, but overall, it looks like a pretty cold forecast is coming up. Folks, you'll want to make sure that you stay tuned because this is a changing forecast. I plan to have another one of those videos out for you on Friday afternoon, Friday evening sometime as well to update you with the weekend system as it rolls in. Be sure you follow me here on Facebook.com/Southern Indiana Weather, or if you follow me on Twitter as well, Twitter.com, and I am at SouthernINWX. Be sure to follow me. Be sure to subscribe to these YouTube videos as well, and keep it tuned here for more updates to come.